For context, I'm 29. My parents have been married for 41 years. They've always been that couple everyone described as quietly solid, like the kind of people who post matching sweaters at Christmas and host those weirdly formal dinners where everyone laughs too loud. But the older I got, the more I realized quietly solid just meant emotionally frozen, like the love was there but shrink-wrapped. Growing up, I'd never really questioned anything. My dad was abroad half the time for work. My mom was the one who stayed behind making sure bills were paid and the lawn wasn't overgrown enough to make the neighbors gossip. We weren't close, but we were efficient. Until last week. Last week, my girlfriend Sarah was scrolling through Facebook and noticed something weird. She found my dad's account commenting on those cringe AI model photos. You know the ones. "You're such a beauty, ID, wish I was 30 years younger," that kind of energy. I laughed at first, old man stuff, but Sarah went quiet. Then she said, is this your dad's real account? And it was. The same profile picture he uses for family birthdays. The same one my mom tags in anniversary posts. Commenting under women who didn't exist. I screenshotted it, sent it to my sister. She immediately called me. "Don't show mom, she'll lose it." And then, not even a day later, I get a text from my mom. "Mom, your sister told me about the Facebook thing. Send me the screenshots." I hadn't even decided what to do. I didn't even tell her yet. So how did she know? I sent them anyway because I was too stunned not to. Next day, my dad calls. Not texts, calls, which he never does unless someone's dead. And he goes, "I can't believe you'd involve yourself in things you don't understand. Like I'm the one who did something wrong." That night, I get a group chat notification. Family. Just me, mom, dad, and my sister. And right there, my dad's typing in paragraphs. My mom sending thumbs up reactions and the occasional, "Please calm down." It read like a script that had been rehearsed before I even opened it. "Dad, since everyone is so concerned about my private life, let's all be honest for once." "Mom, what are you implying?" "Dad, you know what I'm implying. Ask your mother, son." Me, "What?" "Mom, don't you dare." "Dad, tell him who his real father is." I stared at that message for maybe 5 minutes straight. You ever have one of those moments where your ears start ringing and your hands go cold like you're falling but standing still? Yeah, that. I didn't even answer. My sister left the chat within seconds. My mom stopped typing. My dad unsent 2 messages right after. I still don't know what they said. And then he left the group too. Just gone. The silence after that felt unreal, like the room was hollow. Sarah came over, sat beside me and said, "Maybe he's bluffing." But the thing is, he wasn't. Because 2 days later, my mom came into my apartment with a folder. She looked different, not sad, not angry, just resigned. She said, "Your father wants a DNA test, but you don't have to do it." And before I could ask why, she just confessed, like she'd been waiting years for someone to give her permission to exhale. She said, "He's right. He's not your biological father." And that's how, on a random Thursday night, my whole life got rearranged like furniture. She told me it was a man she worked with, a doctor. Apparently my parents were separated but still under one roof back then. And that's how it happened. She said it like a grocery list. Like it wasn't the kind of thing that rewires a person's entire memory of childhood. But here's what's been eating me alive since then. My father doesn't know that she knows he's right. And she begged me not to tell him. So now I'm holding this secret that feels radioactive. The weirdest part, she told me to keep pretending. Don't take the DNA test. Just let him think you did. She said it like she'd rehearsed it. And I know it sounds crazy, but something in her voice scared me. Not like she was afraid of him, more like she was afraid of what I'd find out. That was 5 days ago. Since then, my dad's been texting me things like, "You'll see one day why I did what I did. Don't let her turn you against me. Blood isn't everything." Meanwhile, my mom's been acting like everything's fine. She even invited me to dinner tonight. My sister said she's not going, which makes sense because my mom and dad are apparently on a break now, whatever that means after 41 years. But here's the thing. Every time I think I've got a grip on what's happening, something else slips. Like last night I got a voice note from my mom at 2 a.m. The timestamp said she recorded it 30 minutes after she texted me good night. I tried to text back immediately, but it showed as delivered but not read, and by morning it was deleted. What trip? The only trip I remember is from when I was 15. Dad worked abroad for a while. He came back after a year looking tired, quiet, different. I used to think maybe he was just lonely. But now I'm wondering if that was when everything started falling apart. I asked my sister about it and she got weirdly defensive. She said, "Mom cried every night Dad was gone." But I remember her laughing on the phone all the time. She said Mom barely left the house, but I have photos of her at dinners, parties, even a wedding in another state during that same time. So either I'm misremembering or she's lying, and I don't know which is worse. 2 days ago, Sarah said I should do the DNA test anyway, secretly, just to have peace of mind. So I ordered one. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't even tell my sister. But now, this is where it gets weird again. The day it arrived, before I even opened the box, I got an email. Your order has been canceled due to a duplicate submission. Except, I didn't cancel anything. I called customer support and they said, "Sir, your test is already registered under your name. It's in progress." Someone used my information. Someone mailed in a DNA sample pretending to be me. The rep even read back the return address. It was my parents' old house. The one they sold 5 years ago. I know how this sounds. I sound insane. Sarah told me I should probably take a break from this whole thing, but I can't. Because every time I try to ignore it, something new pops up. Like last night, I went through my dad's Facebook again, and the account's gone completely. But then another one appeared. Same name, same photos. Except all the posts are new, dated yesterday. And under the profile bio, father of 2, husband, sometimes a stranger. It's like he's mocking me. Or maybe he's trying to say something I don't even know anymore. Dinner's tonight. Mom said Dad's dropping by to pick something up. She made lasagna like it's 2008 again. I'm going. Not because I want to, but because I need to see them both in the same room. I need to hear the way they talk to each other now that everything is cracked open. I'm bringing my phone fully charged, recording on, because if there's one thing I've learned from this mess, it's that nothing they say ever matches what they mean.
I got to my parents' place around 7. The air felt heavier than it should have. Not tense, just stale, like the rooms hadn't been opened in months. But that's impossible, because Mom still lives there. At least she said she does. She opened the door smiling, too wide, like she was rehearsing it. "You made it," she said, even though I was 5 minutes early. The smell of lasagna hit me, and for a second it felt almost normal, until I realized it was burnt underneath. There were 2 plates on the table, 2 glasses of wine, but she said Dad was dropping by, not staying for dinner. He called, she said, eyes flicking to the window. He's running late, but his car was already in the driveway. I pointed at it and she said, "Oh, maybe he forgot something inside." And then she laughed, but it was that kind of nervous laugh that collapses on itself. We sat down anyway. She kept asking if Sarah was coming. I told her no, she was at home, too tired. And my mom said, "That's a shame, I really wanted to meet her again." Again? They met once, at my birthday, and Mom barely spoke to her. But when she said it this time, she said it like they'd spent hours talking, like they had history. Then she asked, "Does she still like those green smoothies?" And I froze, because I never told her that. Hell, I didn't even know that until a few days ago when I saw Sarah making one. I asked how she knew, and she said she posted it online, but Sarah's account is private. Around 8, Dad finally came in. No knock, no hello, just walked in and went straight to the kitchen like he still lived there. He nodded at me, didn't look directly at Mom. "Smells like home," he said, and then under his breath, I swear I heard him whisper, "Or what's left of it." Mom didn't respond. She just poured him a glass of wine and said, "We can be civil tonight." The whole thing felt staged, like they'd planned to perform normal for me but forgot their lines halfway through. Halfway through dinner, Dad's phone buzzed. He looked at it, smirked, and slid it face down. Mom's face went pale. I asked if everything was okay. She said, "Don't." Then she stood up, went to the sink, and started washing the same spoon over and over. Dad leaned back in his chair and said, "You know your mother used to send me letters when I was away? Told me how proud she was of the kids?" Then he looked straight at me. "You even drew little pictures on the envelopes, airplanes and all." "I don't remember that. In fact, I remember not talking to him for months at a time." I told him that, and he smiled. "Funny, I kept every one of them." After dinner, Mom asked me to help her bring something from the basement. The light was dim, that yellow flickering bulb that makes everything look like a crime scene. She handed me a box labeled 1998-2004 and said, "See for yourself." Inside were letters, hundreds, but they weren't in my handwriting. They looked like mine, but off, like someone had copied my style and gotten lazy halfway through. I said, "These aren't mine." She didn't even look. "Your father keeps them in a safe," she said. "He thinks they're proof he was a good parent." I asked who wrote them. She said, "Someone who wanted him to believe he was," and then she walked upstairs before I could ask anything else. When I got back up, Dad was gone. The second glass of wine was still full. Mom was on the couch watching static, no signal, just white noise. And when I pointed it out, she said, "Sometimes it helps me think." That night I went home and couldn't sleep. Every sound felt amplified. The fridge hum, the clicking pipes, the faint buzz of my phone. Then it lit up. New message. Family. The group chat that was dead since last week. And it wasn't from Dad. It was from Mom. Mom, he knows about the test. Mom, don't open the door if anyone knocks tonight. Mom, delete this chat after reading. I called immediately. No answer. The messages disappeared one by one while the call rang out. Then my sister texted separately. Sis, stop talking to Mom for a bit. She's not well. Not well. That's the phrase they always use right before they start lying again. Next morning, Sarah woke me up saying someone called her asking for me. She looked pale. She said, "It was your dad, but the number was hidden," she whispered. He told her, "Don't let him do it. You'll lose him too." Two? As in, like Mom. Like lose him how? Sarah said maybe he meant emotionally, but she was trembling. I asked how long the call lasted. She said less than a minute, but her call log said 6 minutes. Later that day, I went to check my mail. There was an envelope, no returned address. Inside, a single photo. Me, about 7 years old, sitting on a man who wasn't my father. The background looked familiar, like our old backyard, but the man's face was blurred, like it had been smudged out. Literally, like someone rubbed it with their thumb while it was still wet. On the back, written in neat handwriting, "You used to call him Doctor." That night, I showed it to Sarah. She looked at it for a long time, too long. Then she said, "Your mom's handwriting is nice." But she shouldn't know it's hers. I hadn't said it was. "You think it's hers?" I asked, and she blinked like she just realized what she said. "Oh, I just assumed." Then she said something that's been echoing in my head since. Sometimes people forget what's true when they're told a better story. I asked what that meant, and she said, "Your dad told me that once." My blood went cold. "When did you talk to my dad?" She said, "At your birthday, remember? But he didn't come to my birthday. I even have photos from that night. Just me, her, my sister, and Mom. No dad." She just smiled and said, "Maybe you're thinking of a different year." I started checking timestamps on my phone photos, old backups, messages, and something's off. Whole chunks of texts between my parents and me are missing, like someone deleted them remotely. Emails are redated, voice notes are gone. One from Mom that I swear I had saved, the one where she whispered about the trip, vanished, replaced by an empty file titled recovered_0001. I played it anyway. White noise for 30 seconds, then, faintly, "Don't believe her voice." Hers. Or someone else's. I don't even know anymore. Today, Mom texted again. "Mom, please come by the house. There's something you should see." I told her no, I needed time. She replied, "Then check your closet." I thought she was losing it, but I checked anyway. Behind an old coat, taped to the wall, was another envelope. Inside, half a DNA report, just the top page. No results, just a header, participant, redacted, sample received pending verification. And at the bottom, printed date, 3 weeks before I ever ordered the test. Someone sent it already. Someone pretending to be me. I called Sarah to tell her. She said she'd come over, but when she arrived, she already had the other half of the report, folded neatly in her pocket. She said, "I didn't want to scare you, but your mom gave it to me the night you ordered yours." "Why would she?" She said, "You'd need it when the truth stopped making sense." And I swear I don't remember what happened next clearly. My memory of that conversation is like Swiss cheese, holes everywhere. But I do remember this. She handed me the paper. I unfolded it, and where the results should have been, there was just one sentence. Stop asking who, start asking why.
It's weird how quiet a house can be after everyone screamed their truth. For 3 days straight, no one mentioned what happened. My mother made breakfast like she hadn't detonated my entire sense of self. My father went to work earlier than usual, probably to avoid seeing me. The house felt heavy in that way you can almost hear, like the walls were listening. Every little sound started to mean something. The clink of a spoon, the pause before someone shut a door. I'd catch my mother staring at me too long, and I couldn't tell if it was guilt or pity. Maybe both, maybe neither. I kept telling myself I was fine. I wasn't. I hadn't slept more than a few hours since the DNA talk, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face. Not angry, just hollow, like a man who had run out of love but still wanted credit for pretending. The fourth morning, I found my phone face down on the table. Someone had tried unlocking it overnight. 3 failed attempts. I didn't even ask who. I just stared at it until my mother asked if I wanted coffee. When I said no, she said, "You're becoming like him." And I didn't know which him she meant. That was the beginning of the weird phase. The kind of days that blur together where you start thinking you imagine parts of it.
Like the night I heard voices downstairs, low, urgent. My mother and someone else, I thought it was my father, but when I came down it was just her, sitting there with a glass of wine, smiling too wide, saying she was talking to herself. Except the front door was still swinging slightly open. And I know what I heard, a man's voice, saying something like, "He can't know yet." I started writing everything down, timestamps, noises, who said what. It sounds paranoid now, but it helped me feel anchored, like if I documented enough, I'd know what was real. Then Sarah texted, the first message since the chaos. Just checking in, heard things got messy, hope you're okay. No sorry, no follow-up, just that. I typed back, deleted, typed again, finally sent, define messy. She didn't reply for hours. Then, you know how your family can be. And something inside me twisted because that's exactly what my father used to say about my mother, word for word. Sarah had been closer to my parents than most of my friends. Too close sometimes. I told myself I was imagining it, but she always knew things before I did. She'd accidentally mentioned stuff I hadn't told her yet, like the trip my father took last year or the doctor my mom worked with decades ago. The night after that text, my father called. Not to talk about anything important, just to ask if I could help fix the Wi-Fi router at his apartment. Almost laughed. The same man who couldn't look me in the eye now wanted me to come over and pretend the internet was the problem. So I went, because apparently I still needed to see him, even if I didn't understand why. His apartment smelled like old coffee and printer ink. I noticed a second toothbrush in the bathroom, pink, not my mother's. He saw me see it. He said, "That's Sarah's. She's been helping me with some paperwork." It took me a full minute to process what he'd just said. I don't remember exactly what I said back, but I remember my voice shaking. Something about boundaries, something about betrayal. He just sighed like I was being dramatic. "You don't know everything," he said. And I said, "No one ever tells me anything." He didn't deny it. When I got home, my mother was on the phone, whispering again. She hung up fast when I came in. I asked who it was, and she said, "Wrong number." I checked the call log later. Unknown number, 32 minutes long. The same night, Sarah texted again. "Maybe you don't overthink things. People get lonely." I didn't answer. I just sat there rereading it, wondering if she was talking about me or him. By the next morning, my father had blocked me, like literally blocked my number. I found out because his voicemail said the person you're trying to reach is unavailable. He didn't forget his password. He deleted me. That broke something. I called my sister, told her everything. She sounded tired, more than shocked, said she had suspected something was off for years, that mom used to have late night calls when dad was abroad, that sometimes she'd catch him messaging someone named S. S, like Sarah. When I asked her why she never said anything, she said, "Because you were the only one still pretending we were a normal family." After that call, everything became a blur of partial conversations, people saying one thing meaning another, my mother crying in the kitchen but saying it was allergies, Sarah sending voice notes that started with laughter and ended in silence. One of them said, "You're taking this too personally." Too personally about what? She never clarified. Days passed. I stopped answering anyone. The world shrank to the sound of my phone buzzing. Then the email arrived. Anonymous sender, subject line, "You deserve the truth." Inside was a single attachment. An old photo, scanned badly, dated the year I was born. My mother, smiling. The man beside her was not my father, and in the background, at a cafe table, was a younger Sarah. I swear my hands went cold. I couldn't breathe for a full minute, because Sarah would have been a teenager then. How did she end up in that photo? Why was she even there? When I called her, she didn't pick up. But a few hours later, she texted, "Some things are better left buried. Trust me." And I swear, I could almost hear my father's voice in that, the same tone he used when telling me not to ask too many questions as a kid. It's all looping now. Their words, their faces, the half-truths. My family history feels like a play I wasn't invited to until the final act. Last night, I went back to my father's apartment. I don't even know why. Maybe to confront him, maybe to find that toothbrush again and prove I wasn't insane. The door was unlocked. The place was empty. But there was a note on the table. "Stop looking. It won't help you." No signature. And the thing that scares me most is I can't tell whose handwriting it is.
I've been staring at that note for 2 days. "Stop looking. It won't help you." Like someone already knew I wouldn't be able to stop. I keep reading it in different voices. My father's first, then my mother's, then a Sarah's. None of them sound right, but all of them fit. The house feels like a replica of itself now. Drawers where nothing belongs, frames slightly crooked, like someone moved things half an inch just to make me notice. Maybe I've been here too long. Maybe this is how it starts. You try to make sense of it, and then the sense rearranges itself. I didn't tell anyone I found the note. I just went through my father's desk again. Inside one of the folders was an envelope with my name on it. No seal, just my name.
Inside was a photo. Another one of that same cafe, the one from the anonymous email, but this time my father's sitting with the same man from before, and Sarah's behind the counter wearing an apron with the cafe logo. It's dated 3 years before I was born. The cafe's name was Delphine's. I searched it online. Closed down 20 years ago. The only thing I found was a newspaper clipping about a fire. No fatalities, just undisclosed damage. But here's what doesn't make sense. The article mentioned a doctor who owned the place for a short while. My mother's affair, the one she said happened with a doctor, the dates match. So I drove there, or to what's left of it, just a shell of a building now, half covered in ivy. I parked and sat for 10 minutes before getting out. The air smelled like burnt dust, even after all these years. On the back wall, in faint spray paint, S&M 1986. My stomach turned. Sarah and my mother. Not in the romantic way. No, this felt like something else. Initials of a pact. I started thinking about how Sarah used to say things like, "Your mother did what she had to do," or "You wouldn't understand the pressure she was under." How she dropped those lines whenever I got too close to the truth. So I called her. No answer. Then I texted her, "I know about Delphine's." She read it immediately. No reply. 15 minutes later, my mother called. Not texted, called. Her voice was flat. "You've been digging." I said, "Why didn't you tell me Sarah knew you back then?" Silence. Then she said, "Because she wasn't supposed to still be in your life." I don't even remember hanging up. I just stood there, trying to breathe. I went to Sarah's apartment that night. I don't know what I thought I'd find. Her maybe, or some leftover version of the truth. The hallway smelled like bleach. Her door was open, just a crack. Inside, half the furniture was gone. There was an envelope on the table with my name again. Inside, a USB drive. A single file on it, a video, low quality, time-stamped the year before I was born. My mother's voice first, nervous, whispering. Then a man's voice I didn't recognize, talking about keeping it quiet. Then Sarah, younger, saying, "If he ever finds out, they'll both turn on you." My mother replied, "Then he can never find out he's the doctor's son." And then it cut out. I dropped the drive, sat on the floor for what felt like hours. Everything I thought I'd figured out, wrong. My father was never my father, but neither was the doctor the whole story. Sarah was in it. She was the link between all of them, the one who carried the secret from one decade to the next like it was a job. And I think she stayed close all these years to make sure I never stumbled into it. I don't know what's worse, that they lied or that they collaborated. The woman I confided in, the one who told me my parents were complicated, was part of the complication. The next morning, I went back to my parents' house. My mother was sitting at the kitchen table with her old wedding ring on, even though she hadn't worn it in years. She didn't look surprised to see me. She said, "He found the video, didn't he?" I didn't answer. She sighed. "Then it's done." I said, "What it?" She just said, "The agreement." I said, "What agreement?" She smiled, tiny, tired. "That we'd all protect you until you were old enough to choose who to believe." That line still haunts me, because it means the last 30 years were an experiment. They'd built an entire narrative and waited to see which parent I'd side with when it cracked. I said, "So I was the test?" She said, "You were the reason." The way she said it sounded like both a confession and a curse. I left. I didn't take anything, didn't tell her goodbye. I just walked until I couldn't feel my hands anymore. Later, Sarah sent one final text. "They were never against you, you just weren't supposed to know which side you were on." I didn't reply. I blocked her, deleted the drive, threw the note in the river.